Hello, I'm Tim Beavis with Carey International Pastoral Training. As we draw toward the close of another year, I want to take just a few moments to share with you some of the incredible things that are happening around the world because of your faithful partnership with us. By God's grace this year, we have conducted some 60 weeks of training, reaching hundreds of pastors and leaders from 10 language groups across 16 different countries through both our local in-country training centers and our global campus. As we look ahead to 2025, we believe that we'll be able to train even more pastors in even more places than ever before. You don't have to look too far to see that our world is in great turmoil, and the hope of the gospel is so desperately needed. That's true everywhere, but indeed in some of the most dark and difficult situations, it is then that the light of Christ seems to shine the brightest. Consider just a few of the places that we're working. You see, there's such a deep sense of hopelessness across the island nation of Cuba. Devastating economic challenges, crumbling infrastructure, a series of severe storms, and ongoing state oppression of Christian leaders has led to a situation where right now more people are seeking to flee that country than at any time since the Communist Revolution of 1959. Yet in the midst of that, Carey's work of training pastors is flourishing. These men that we're training are hungry to learn and to grow and to lead the churches there across that country, many of which have been left without a pastor because of those who have fled, and are crying out for the kind of well-equipped and godly leaders that Carey is training there in Cuba. I would ask that you would join us in praying for the church in that land. Or consider how throughout Central East Africa, thousands of churches have been closed down even this year alone, as different governments are trying to stem the tide and the influence of destructive false teachers and preachers of the so-called prosperity gospel that have been devastating communities while enriching themselves. But amidst those mass closures, many other churches are also being shut down, as requirements are being instituted that churches that wish to remain open must be led by a formally trained pastor. But where can these leaders, especially those in more rural and remote areas, turn for training? Well, today, Carey has 5 different training centers across this region alone, and there's an urgent need for even more. I cannot tell you the immense joy that it is to see all that God is doing in the church across Africa as these leaders are being raised up. And so as we consider what God is doing through Carey all around the world and all that lies ahead for us in 2025, I want to invite you to partner with us during this important year-end season. To help us to finish the year strong and to launch well into 2025, we're asking the Lord for $42,000 between now and December 31st. This goal will provide training for 100 of our global church pastors, each one being equipped to take the message of the gospel to hundreds or even thousands of people through their churches and in the towns and the villages and the communities in which they serve. And so I'd like to ask you, would you prayerfully consider making a special year-end gift to Carey at this time, or pledging an ongoing monthly gift that will enable us to advance the work of the gospel, to continue to raise up and to train more leaders and pastors for the global church in more places for the glory of Christ? Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for your prayers on our behalf. And thank you for your partnership with us in this vital work of the gospel.